Welcome back for the second part of Europe District. We travelled from Skopje to Tirana, the capital of Albania, until 1992 and the fall of communism. This was one of the most isolationist regimes in the world. 20 years later, the land of the eagles has come a long way, but as we'll see, progress towards EU membership has been alarmingly slow. In this programme, we'll tell you why a recent hunger strike by chrome miners has shed light on the poor working conditions of many Albanian workers. And we'll meet the country's top film director, who will take us for a walk through the streets of his very colourful city, Tirana. But first, there's a lot of frustration in Brussels about the pace of reforms in this country. So far, the European Union has refused to grant Albania candidate status. At the heart of the problem lies a never-ending dispute between two men, Sali Berisha, the current Prime Minister, and Edi Rama, the former mayor of the capital.
The start of a relentless day for the Albanian Prime Minister. The European Commission has rejected Albania's candidate status, citing the endless political deadlock in the country.
The reason why other countries got it but not Albania for the second time is that these countries are lucky enough not to have an opposition that blocks all voting reforms for integration.
Since the re-election of Sali Berisha to the head of the government in June 2009, the opposition has refused to recognise the result. After a 2-year boycott, socialist MPs have returned to parliament, but they continue to block a number of measures calling for a 3/5 majority, including judicial and economic reforms demanded by Brussels.
He's used this blockage to upset the majority, but in reality, and unfortunately, it's the country that suffers.
He is his main opponent, Edi Rama, the leader of the Socialist Party. Rama was the mayor of Tirana until he was ousted in controversial municipal elections in May. The two leaders have been blaming each other for the political crisis.
We cannot afford to fall into the trap of passing the buck. If the government needs the opposition to pass legislation requiring a qualified majority, then the government must be able to create a favourable consensus.
A few days before the release of the EU's unfavourable report, Edi Rama made proposals to the government on justice and the electoral process, but Berisha deemed them unacceptable.
While the government should do its best in order to create an environment of inclusiveness, the opposition should prove to be constructive. If these two requirements are met, then the European integration path of Albania will be easier.
It seems the feud between the two men could go beyond the political sphere. Some see it more as a problem of ego.
Mr. Berisha sees himself as a missionary. On the other hand, Rama sees himself as a leader of a protest movement rather than the chief of political opposition.
The hatred and verbal sparring between the two men was reinforced by the deaths of 4 socialist activists in January at a demonstration organised by Edi Rama.
I don't think it's something personal. I think it's more a matter of generation. It's the old communist method of carrying out personal attacks on friends, family, the people.
Lulzim Basha now sits in the chair occupied by Rama till only a few months ago. He's the new mayor of Tirana, a Democratic Party member and a protégé of the Prime Minister. The young mayor's trying to distance himself from the feud.
The first effort that should be made is to move away from personal agendas and to focus on national agenda. If we all agree that European Union perspective is the best for Albania, and I believe we do agree on this, now it is the time to leave aside the differences.
The EU demands complete electoral reform from Albania. It's hoping for an agreement between the government and opposition over the European agenda that would become a national cause, and not an arena for personal jibes.
It's a story that grabbed headlines all summer in Albania. Miners at the chrome mine of Bulqiza started a hunger strike to demand better pay and working conditions. For 27 days, miners took turns to replace collapsing colleagues fasting deep underground. Now, this story has shed light on the poor working conditions of many Albanians.
These men are waiting anxiously for their colleagues. We were about to go down into the mine for a visit agreed with the company. But there was an explosion on the 16th level. This man just saw one of his colleagues die in front of his eyes. He's in shock. The mine was evacuated, but the workers cannot contain their anger.
Go talk to management, they're the criminals.
But the management asked us to leave. Baki, one of the miners, took us to see the wounded. After reassuring his family, he showed his true feelings.
I told them the rate of hydrogen was too high. Normally it doesn't exceed 0.5%, and down there it was almost 2%. Under those conditions you have to stop working immediately, otherwise it can explode, but we were told to keep working.
This explosion comes just weeks after workers went on a month-long hunger strike to demand better working conditions and stronger security, making the anger over the accident more intense. Baki stayed at the bottom of the mine without food for 22 days. He's brought us to the hospital where 10 men wounded by the explosion have been transferred.
It was horrible.
Everyone here is all too familiar with the anguish that comes with working down the mine, not to mention bad pay conditions. Living with the salary of her husband, €250 a month, this woman has trouble raising 5 children.
There's no security down in the gallery. The mine's like that. And moreover, the pay's low. There are 7 of us in all, and it's just not enough.
Baki goes home to find his family. His wife, Zamira, is relieved to see him, but tomorrow he will return to work. The strike hasn't changed anything for him.
When we put our clothes on before starting work, they're wet because in the gallery there's no place for them to dry. You know what? We still work with wheelbarrows like they did 60 years ago.
Bulqiza mine was first sold to an Italian company. Since 2006, it's been managed by ACR, a local company and a subsidiary of an Austrian group. In late September, an agreement was signed with the workers on strike, increasing their salaries by 20%. There was also the issue of safer facilities, which the miners included as part of their demands.
We invested in worker safety by strengthening the place with metal armatures. There haven't been any accidents in 3 years.
A difficult figure to verify. The explosion we witnessed may have made the headlines, but that's not the case for all incidents.
You must be aware that while accidents are covered, there are often cases where the news doesn't reach Tirana. There's no official figure on the number of accidents.
In Bulqiza, most miner families live in poverty. However, ACR company profits have soared in recent years, thanks to the rise in price of chrome. ACR's concession contract, which was voted in Parliament, also required the company to invest €2 million in renovating mine facilities by the end of 2010.
Where is all this money? Where is all the wealth that comes from this mine? The chrome money. Who is responsible?
The union president of the mining sector, who supported the Bulqiza employee protest, says the blame lies mainly with political decisions.
We never wanted to attack the company and never asked the company to leave Albania. It's a Western company with a strong legal framework, but here it's had to deal with unfamiliar things. Irresponsible ministers are behind this extreme situation.
It's a situation that shines a light on a widespread problem, badly managed privatizations being forced too swiftly onto the Albanian market.
It's time now for our cultural sequence. We'll meet Kujtim Çashku. He's a famous Albanian film director. He's also the founder of the country's first film school. Together, we'll explore Tirana. Let's go and meet him. So, Kujtim, we're standing in front of your Academy of Film and Multimedia. Tell us more about the history of your school.
I had this dream on my life to resume my career, that doing some movies and also creating the first school of film and television in Albania in 2004. Every year we admit only 10 students. So altogether they cannot be more than 30. It was quite a good success from the very beginning. It came professors also from abroad teaching our students. And in that moment it started a kind of virus, coming some TV channels here. But in the same time it was some problems with our school, because you see that in front of the school is the very beautiful garden, and so the people, they all the time think when they see a garden how to build up something for their proper interest in a way. Together with students and professors, we start to protect the garden. The students and professors get crashed with the police, and now the state police is protecting us in a way, because they are understanding bit by bit, the government understanding that it was a game that had not to be played.
Throughout your career, you've directed several award-winning films, and you started your career under communism. There's one film you wanted to talk about. It's called Post-Mortem.
I have worked, in fact, 9 years during the communist regime, and it's a movie that has been censored for 20 years and had to deal with a very classic black comedy. All the people in that time thought that Hoxha, the dictator, would be forever into this country, like a symbol of, of eternity. So this kind of mentality produced dictators wherever they are. Even in a small office you can be a dictator.
So our next stop is the Pyramid of Enver Hoxha, which was built to commemorate your former dictator. And now you've got some personal memories about this building.
Exactly, that I'm talking for the year of '91. We had a small office here for the Forum of Human Rights. When it was raining outside, it was some drops that came inside of our office. We took a bucket and we put it there inside of the room, and so bit by bit, drops came in, and we start to laugh together and saying, okay, they are the drops of Enver Hoxha that is crying, because we invaded this pyramid with this office of human rights.
And in recent years, there's been a controversy about the future of the pyramid. Some say it should be destroyed. What is your position?
In my philosophy, a way of thinking, I never think that things that have been built up can be destroyed. For example, like this main boulevard here has been built up during the time of fascism. So we cannot identify different regimes with the objects.
Now, talking about Enver Hoxha, you evoke his paranoia in one of your films. It's called Colonel Bunker. You talk about all these bunkers that were built across the country during his rule.
Colonel Bunker is not linked only with the bunkerization of Albania, but mostly to discover this bunker mentality of people. Then when they produce, the enemies or the devil outside of themselves. When I was in Montreal, in a press conference, a lot of journalists put question to me, how you build up this kind of location? Tons of money to put there, is something that, yes, I said, my producer worked 30 years for realizing my location for doing Colonel Bunker. But who it was this gentleman, they said. And I said that it was Enver Hoxha, the dictator, prepared for me to do a location for shooting my Colonel Bunker.
So you had a very ambitious producer at the time.
Yeah, it was fantastic telling that.
Now this is Tirana's main square. It's said to be the largest square in the whole of Europe, but it looks today like a site under construction.
If we consider that it was for different kind of purpose, but it was empty, and now that is coming a big garden, and I'm very happy about that if can happen, instead of having big blocks of betons around.
During the communist period, this is where the statue of your former dictator used to stand. It was over there, right?
Yeah, I have done an Equinox. It's a documentary about the media in Albania during the transition period, and in that I bring also the topple of the monument of Hoxha. It was 300,000 people, doing the inauguration of the statue of Enver Hoxha, and 6 years later 300,000 5,000 people putting down the statue of Enver Hoxha. So in a way, bring to me this kind of virus of collective pathologia.
This is one of the many hidden places in Tirana. It's the world center of Bektashi. Who are the Bektashis?
It's kind of really saying a branch of Islam. They are very, let's say, liberal. They accept all kinds of religions. They take wine, they take every kind of meat, including the pork, in a way that we can consider that the kind of dominant religion in Albania.
And you want us to meet the chairman of the Bektashi who lives just around the corner?
Yeah, so maybe let's go and see and meet him.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, good.
Bektashi think men and women are equal. They should be able to go to the same places without being separated. Therefore, women shouldn't cover their heads. That would be shameful.
And to finish our walk with him, you took us to Petrella Castle, a beautiful castle set on one of the many mountains that surrounds Tirana.
Exactly as I told you, there are 5 castles around. And you know, it's from here only 20 minutes to arrive from Tirana, center town, to Petrella or to Preza or Tufin or the other castle they are around Tirana. That is all.
And I guess this is the kind of place where you like to spend your weekends with your family.
I am a grandfather. I take 2 of my Tom and leave 2 small children, and then I have a pleasure to play here.
Kurtim Chashku, thank you very much for being our guide here in Tirana.
It was my pleasure being together with you today.
See you very soon, hopefully. Thank you for watching this edition of Europe District. Join us again next month as we travel to Serbia. From all of us here, goodbye.